The sterile hum of the doctor's office faded into a deafening roar in my ears as Sarah's words sliced through the air like a jagged blade. I'm pregnant, Alex. But it might not be yours. Her eyes, those once sparkling blue pools I drowned in for 8 years of marriage, now darted away, guilty and evasive, as if the linoleum floor held some secret absolution. The ultrasound image on the screen mocked me, a tiny, pulsing heartbeat that could be my child or the bastard spawn of her lover, the smug colleague she'd been working late with for months. My fists clenched under the exam table, nails digging into palms until blood welled, but I forced a smile. A cold, predatory curve of my lips that made her flinch. She expected tears, rage, a broken man crumbling at her feet. Instead, that smile promised her the hell she deserved. In that moment, as the doctor awkwardly cleared his throat and excused himself, I felt the first dark thrill of vengeance uncoil in my gut, not just for the betrayal, but for the utter humiliation of being played for a fool in the one place where trust should be ironclad. Sarah had shattered our world, but I would rebuild mine on her ruins. The drive home from the clinic was a blur of rain-slicked streets and the acrid taste of bile rising in my throat. Sarah sat beside me, her hand hovering tentatively toward mine, as if a touch could erase the venom she'd injected into our lives. "Alex, please talk to me," she whispered, her voice cracking with that false fragility she wielded like a weapon. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles bleached white, the smile from the office still etched on my face, a grotesque mask hiding the storm raging inside. Talk. Oh, I'd talk, but not yet. Not until I had the noose fashioned just right. That night, as she slept fitfully in our king-sized bed, the one we'd chosen together during that romantic weekend in the Berkshires, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. The burden of revenge settled over me like a leaden shroud, heavy and unyielding. It wasn't the fiery outburst I craved in those first hours. No, this was a slow burn, a poison seeping into every crevice of my soul. By dawn, I'd mapped the first steps, quiet, meticulous, invisible. I started with the finances. Our joint accounts, the house deed, the life insurance policies. She thought I was the steady provider, the rock she could chip away at without consequence. But I was the architect of our empire, and dismantling it from within would be my masterpiece. Days blurred into weeks, each one a deliberate erosion of her security. I consulted a divorce attorney under the guise of premarital counseling, feeding him details of her affair pieced together from deleted texts I'd recovered on her phone, late-night confessions to Mark, her boss, about how I was suffocating her, how his touch made her feel alive. The lawyer's eyes gleamed with professional detachment as he outlined asset division, alimony traps, and custody battles. "If it's not yours," he said flatly, "paternity tests will bury her." I nodded, the weight pressing harder on my chest, a constant ache that made sleep a distant memory. Nights found me in the home office, poring over bank statements, siphoning small amounts into hidden offshore accounts, enough to starve her future without alerting her now. It ate at me, this secrecy, turning meals into battlegrounds where I'd watch her pick at her food, her hand unconsciously cradling the swell of her belly, and I'd force laughter at her jokes, all while imagining her world collapsing. The pursuit warped everything around me. My sister, Elena, noticed first during our weekly coffee ritual. "You're different, Alex," she said, her brow furrowed over her latte. "Distant, like you're carrying a ghost." I brushed it off with a lie about work stress, but the truth clawed deeper. The ghost was Sarah's deception, and it haunted my every interaction. Elena, ever the peacemaker, suggested family therapy, her eyes pleading for the brother she remembered, the one who barbecued Sundays and doted on nieces. But I couldn't confide. The rage was mine alone, a private inferno that scorched any bridge to normalcy. At work, my once collegial demeanor hardened into icy efficiency. Colleagues whispered about my mood swings. Promotions stalled as paranoia set in. Was Mark's firm connected to mine? I isolated myself, declining happy hours, my only companions the glow of my laptop screen and the bitter swell of resentment. One evening, as autumn leaves piled like accusations outside our window, the internal war peaked. Sarah, radiant in her naivety, prepared a reconciliation dinner, candlelight, her favorite pasta, a bottle of that overpriced Chianti from our honeymoon. She wore the red dress that once drove me wild, now a taunt. Midway through, tears streaming, she confessed fragments. It was a mistake, Alex. Mark means nothing. This baby, it could be ours. Her hand on my arm ignited an inferno. Justice screamed for me to expose her, to shatter the plate, and scream the paternity test results I'd already ordered in secret. Destruction whispered sweeter. Drag it out? Let her bond with the child only to rip it away. I pulled back, my voice steady as steel. We'll see, Sarah. We'll see. She beamed, mistaking restraint for mercy, but inside, I was tearing apart. The burden gnawed relentlessly, decisions laced with malice. Should I leak her affair to her Bible study group? Watch her pious facade crumble? Or hold back, let the pregnancy advance, make the fall harder? It shaped me into a shadow, joy leached from simple pleasures like morning runs, replaced by the dark thrill of plotting. Friends drifted, sensing the chill. Even our dog, Max, whimpered at my altered scent. Yet in that torment, a perverse clarity emerged. Revenge wasn't just payback. It was rebirth, forged in the fire of her treachery. As I cleared the table that night, her soft snores echoing from upstairs, I whispered to the empty kitchen, "You started this war. I'll end it on my terms." The poison spread, but so did my resolve, a venomous vine choking out doubt, driving me toward the abyss where her empire would meet its end. Months dragged like chains as the pregnancy progressed, each ultrasound a dagger twist, Sarah glowing with maternal bliss, oblivious to the noose tightening around her neck. The burden had metastasized, a constant companion that hollowed my eyes and sharpened my edges. Sleep evaded me entirely now, replaced by feverish vigils where I'd scroll through Mark's social media, memorizing his smug grin, his posts about new beginnings that reeked of their stolen nights. It drove every decision. I accelerated the financial bleed, rerouting our savings into irrevocable trusts for a hypothetical child. Mine or not, it wouldn't touch her grasp. Work suffered. I snapped at subordinates, earning a stern HR warning, but the isolation fueled me, a solitary predator honing claws for the kill. The people around me bore the brunt. Elena's calls went unanswered, her voicemails pleading, "Alex, you're scaring me. This isn't you." My parents, sensing the fracture during a strained holiday dinner, pressed for truths I buried under forced smiles. "Marriage is work," I'd mutter, while inwardly reveling in the chaos I'd sown. Anonymous tips to Mark's wife about the affair, watching from afar as their marriage imploded in tabloid whispers and divorce filings. It was intoxicating, this ripple of destruction, but the toll mounted, nights doubled over in agony, the rage of physical beast gnawing my insides, blurring justice into a frenzy of vengeance. The internal tempest raged fiercest in stolen moments of vulnerability. One stormy afternoon, as Sarah napped, I held the paternity results in trembling hands. Negative, the child's father confirmed as Mark. Justice demanded immediate confrontation, a public evisceration that would strip her bare. But destruction tempted darker. Expose it quietly to her family first. Let their judgment poison her from within, or worse, manipulate the narrative to paint her as the gold-digging whore unfit for motherhood. I paced the nursery we'd painted together, soft blues now mocking my fury, punching the wall until blood smeared the pristine white, the pain of fleeting release from the war within. Torn, I hurled the envelope into the fire, flames devouring the proof like my crumbling trust. It wasn't mercy, it was strategy, letting the uncertainty fester, watching her paranoia bloom as I feigned support. Doctor visits, baby showers I hosted with gritted teeth, each act a barb sinking deeper. The pursuit poisoned my world. Old friends ghosted after I drunkenly ranted at a bar about cheating snakes, and Elena confronted me in tears. "You're becoming the monster she made you." Her words stung, a mirror to the husk I'd become, but they only steeled my spine. No, the monster was hers to fear. The turning point came unbidden, a cruel twist sharpening my blade. During a routine prenatal check, the doctor pulled me aside. Sarah's blood work revealed complications, a risk of preterm labor tied to stress. "She's terrified, Mr. Harlan. Hiding something big," he confided, mistaking my silence for concern. In that sterile hallway, as her muffled sobs echoed from the exam room, an unexpected truth crashed over me. She'd miscarried once before, with Mark, and lied about it to keep him. I'd uncovered the hospital record in my digging, but hearing the doctor's unwitting confirmation ignited not pity, but a savage clarity. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a pattern of calculated deceit, a woman who'd weaponized vulnerability for years. The question of peace? Laughable. Revenge wasn't a chain. It was the key to shattering hers. No more hesitation. The scales tipped fully to destruction. The climax erupted on a crisp winter eve, the baby due any day. I'd orchestrated the perfect storm. Invited her family, Mark's scorned wife, and our closest circle to what she believed was a surprise gender reveal in our backyard, trinkets and balloons masking the trap. As dusk fell, guests milling with champagne flutes, I dimmed the lights and projected the evidence on a massive screen. Texts, photos, the paternity denial, Mark's affair admissions interwoven with her medical lies. Gasps rippled as Sarah emerged, radiant and white, freezing at the sight. Alex, what? Her plea died as I stepped forward, voice a thunderclap. You built this lie, Sarah? Watch it burn. Chaos erupted. Her mother's horrified recoil, Mark's wife's vengeful shriek as she hurled her glass, Sarah collapsing in sobs, clutching her belly as contractions hit from the shock. I stood unmoved, the smile from that clinic day returning, colder now. Paramedics swarmed, whisking her away. The child survived, but her world didn't. Divorce papers served in the hospital, assets frozen, her reputation a smoldering ruin whispered in every circle. In the aftermath, as I walked away from the sterile ward where she'd begged for scraps of mercy, the burden lifted, not into peace, but a hollow triumph. The cost was my soul's erosion, relationships ashed, but the justice? Exquisite. I rebuilt alone, a fortress of calculated solitude, forever marked by the fire. Moral of the story. In the ashes of betrayal, revenge forges an unyielding blade that cuts deepest not at the betrayer, but at the remnants of who you once were. Yet sometimes, that scar is the only victory worth claiming.